Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be discussing the societal challenges and solutions in regards to housing affordability. You may be wondering, why is housing affordability such an issue in the first place? And I'm going to walk you through these 4 points as to how it can have such an impact on the economy and society. So the first point is economic inequality and poverty. Well, people who own their houses, as the house market goes up, their wealth increases, whereas people who are renting, the majority of their income goes towards paying the rent rather than towards other necessities such as healthcare, and this also increases the wealth gap between those who own their house and those who are renting. The next issue is homelessness. The biggest leading cause of homelessness is unaffordable housing. When people can't actually even afford rent anymore, they get pushed into the streets, and that poses a lot of health and safety risks such as illnesses, making sure they're actually getting well rested and safe infrastructure over their head. The outside elements can be quite damaging over the course of time, and they don't deserve to be like. Next issue is the impact on economy. So if people who are renting, the majority of their income actually goes toward the rent, so therefore they have less money left over for leisure activities such as going out, going to the beach, buying food at cafes, spending money on gifts, and the list goes on. And that actually slows down the economy due to less consumer spending, which means businesses have less profit, which means investors are getting a lower return on their money. Therefore, businesses have less investor money to invest into new projects to get a greater return on capital. You will just begin to see companies slowly but surely just slowing down, less improvement, less new things coming to attract new investors and new audience, and this can also create some workforce challenges when those essential workers are not getting paid enough. They actually struggle to be able to afford to live close to their places of employment, and it can lead to labor shortages in these key sectors due to the commuting times and transportation costs that some of these employees have to endure. Final issue is educational disruption. Now imagine this: Jimmy lives with his parents rent. Every 2 years, every year and a half, Jimmy has to move from area to area if they cannot continue to afford to live in a specific area. Therefore, Jimmy has to move schools, he has to make new friends, and it really affect not only his home life but also his social life, his school life, even his work life if he's a teenager and he has a part-time. It can put a lot of stress on a child having to go through that whole process over and over again, and it's really a make or break scenario. So those are some of the reasons why it is actually a significant issue and why it should be addressed. And what I have laid out for you over here, the 4-phase plan, and how it works is it's a domino effect. So it starts at political, then economic, then for phase 1, politicians pass some policies that strengthen the rent control regulations, such as a policy that protect tenants from rent increases by a certain amount, so there's a cap. By doing this on an economic level, it would actually disincentivize second, third time home buyers, which over time will shift the cultural perception of housing being seen not as a financial asset but rather as a basic right. That is residential real estate, by the way. The other issue with cultural sector is that media companies, they need to be stopped from using the idea that home ownership is impossible, and they need to stop fear-mongering the mass into believing that. Phase 2, again, political, rezoning, law reform. What that means: rezone areas with low amounts of flora and fauna to be allowed to be developed on, and also modify current zoning areas with low density living and making them into high density living developments. What this does: reduce construction costs, as construction companies will be able to increase their profit margin due to reducing their per unit costs, as the apartments would be all in one project. On a cultural level, again, the media is a very, very powerful tool. The media companies can be used to promote the idea of high density living as a positive thing, as a desired outcome. This can then change the cultural perception of, instead of wanting to own a home, you want to own an apartment close to your work, close to transportation, close to other small businesses such as restaurants, cafes, close to amenities. And I think that could be very good. Phase 3, on a political scale, passing policies that support regional infrastructure development. What that means: increase government investment into regional areas. This is again a domino effect, and creating policies that incentivize businesses to invest in regional areas. By doing this on an economic lens, it promotes businesses to set up operations in regional areas, which would then become new CBDs within like maybe 10 to 20 years. By doing this, it gives construction companies work out there. It would begin to bring money out there. When employees also have to start commuting there, they would rather live closer to home, promoting the development of residential properties around that area. This is promoting regional living on a cultural level. Phase 4, on a political lens of view, incentivize affordable housing development. Come on, people, what are we doing? No, policies should be passed for affordable housing and affordable development. One of the potential policies would be huge tax breaks or subsidies for developers and businesses who are planning on moving their operations out into a more regional area. This, on an economic level, would promote first-time home buyers and development of suburban housing, commercial real estate. Again, bringing more money into the area. For the first-time home buyers, there should be incentives such as low interest rates for first-time home buyers, and also policies can be passed to minimize all costs for first-time home buyers. Maybe no stamp duty, maybe no land tax. On a cultural scale, this promotes a society that actually feels secure with their living circumstances, as they actually own their house. They don't have to rent it. They will have a new area to explore, building a new culture. Their children will be growing up in new areas to potentially go on to do great things, and they won't have to deal with the negative downfalls of their parents renting and not being able to afford a home. The impact of the solution put forward: short term, it could create quite a lot of unhappy people due to some of the policies that have been put forward. People who are living in regional areas may not like all the new development and money flowing into those areas. People who live in the city may struggle to accept that high density living is becoming a reality, and also those property investors would not be happy that they will not be getting as big of a return on their investment. But long term, I think this would be the way. It would solve a lot of the current issues now,